I hosted a $50,000 Fortnite tournament, but if you win the game, you actually lose points. We invited some of the top pro players in the world. We're talking Booga, Colazo, Macwood, Ronaldo, and a bunch of other people. So the bus path is on the hill of Craggy, and some people are going to land on the hill and try to jump off. Some people are going to land and start farming up to build a ramp. Most people are actually going to try to drop on top of the Craggy house. One person right in the beginning, Trashy, jumps off and he eliminates himself, but everybody else takes like 60 or 70 damage, and then they have to jump off again. But even some people who jumped off again did not go down, so they started building ramps, and here's where it gets tricky. Nate Hill's team, Funk Bomb actually landed on one of the ramps, and he started panicking, and as you can see, he jumped again, did not get eliminated. He starts running up here. He sees that there might be some water, so he panics a little bit, and then boom, victory royale. Nate Hill's team is starting off with -5 points. They could not eliminate themselves in time. So in round 2, we decided to turn off their entire HUD. They can't see the map. They can't see what guns they have in their inventory. The only weapon in the game that has a crosshair is going to be a sniper, but everything else they basically have to shoot hip fire or just kind of guess where the crosshair is. This is going to make it very confusing. And honestly, dude, so many people died to the storm because they can't even tell which way the storm is going to go or where the circles are forming. However, some players were smart enough to throw on the storm back bling that shows you where the current storm is. Another very confusing thing about this is during team fights, you wouldn't know if your teammates are getting kills or not because the elimination feed is also turned off. Teammates had to communicate very, very well to let their teammates know if they got a knock or not. All right, so like I mentioned, the snipers still have the reticle, and we're going to watch Nate Hill right here use the sniper. He gets a clean headshot on this player, and then they're going to immediately launch pad onto this team. This is a pro trio that they're actually pushing. P-God and his teammates got pushed by Nate Hill, and due to them having a knocked player, Nate Hill's team is going to take out P-God and another one of their players. So, and these guys are just trying to figure out where the storm is. People are looking up in the sky, watching the storm. The rotations are very, very confusing, and it gets even more confusing in the late game. And I've never seen so many pro players die to storm in a single match. Right here, we watch FaZe Mega, Dubs, and Rokane just kind of push a team. The storm is moving, and look, the panic ensues right here. They put down a launch pad, and he launches up into something. They had no idea that the moving storm was going to go so far away from them. Their entire team got wiped by storm. Usually these players would be ready for the storm to move away from them. Now we're watching Calc, Tragix, and Creo. So they're on the low ground, just trying to take players out who are rotating. They're staying near the storm line so they can kind of see which direction the storm is moving. But look, they all have their guns out. Players are dropping on them, but they're getting eliminations left and right. And you're about to watch one of the craziest plays of the tournament right here. This is probably one of the most hype end games we see. People are going at the storm. As you can see, people are just dying because they have no idea which way to rotate, and they're getting caught. If it's already confusing enough for you to play in a stacked end game, this is even more confusing due to the lack of HUD, the lack of crosshair. They don't even know where they're aiming. Now you got Sented's team, Edgy and Ronaldo on the high ground. Calc actually builds up to try to confuse them, but Calc actually gets knocked, and now it's a 1v3 situation. But what ends up happening here is crazy. Creo ends up getting a knock. The other player goes down to the storm because he had no idea which way he was rotating. Now it's a 1v1, and Sented has the high ground, has the mats, has the heals. Sented's going to drop down on him and potentially just one pump him. You won't believe what happens next. Sented's going to play smart.
It looks like Creo is plumbed out of builds. No options here.
No way! All right, so in this next round, it's a very interesting one. You're going to start off with the ability to hold 5 items, but after the first circle closes, you can only hold 4 items. After the second circle closes, you can only hold 3, and then 2, and then 1 after the 4th circle closes, and then you have to play with 1 item for the rest of the match. So the early game was pretty standard, but after the first and second circle started closing, players had to really pick and choose what they were keeping. Right here, we're watching Reet push Nate Hill's team. Very aggressive plays from Reet, very aggressive player. And as you can see right here, you're watching players decide which items they're going to drop and which items they're going to keep. I think for me personally, I decided that maybe a gold tack would be the best single item to take with me into endgame. But as you can see, players, you know, opt to choose like shotgun, AR, minis. I mean, that's pretty standard. But as soon as this third circle closes, they're going to have to drop one of those items. I think the first thing to go might be the minis, maybe the assault rifle. But if you have a gold pump, you're probably going to keep that gold pump. And the end game gets really, really hectic. Right now, you can see people are down to 2 items. People are opting to carry 1 weapon plus, you know, heals. And now at this point, everybody has only 1 item. 1 weapon, maybe a heal for the heal off, maybe a slurp bazooka if they have it. But everybody has 1 item. Most people are opting to take the tactical shotgun because you can shoot repeatedly really fast. You can see right here, we got Booga's team. They're opting to carry assault rifles. I think Booga has a gold scar. So people are just dropping each other's boxes and literally just spraying. You can see the tags come out right there. Very, very good play right here from users. He knocks a couple opponents. He gets the siphon and now he's trying to get in. He turns around. He ends up getting knocked down by Booga, who has 4 eliminations. All right, so we're watching Booga with the gold scar on the high ground. You're going to see just how effective he is with his gold scar. Look at this absolute beam he ends up getting on face center. That's like 200 damage in a second. And now he knows he's got the knock. He gets dropped on by a guy with a tack, but he doesn't panic. He sprays, and then he drops down on the last opponent. And that gold scar came in clutch. They won that match, and I believe it puts them in first place going into the next round. All right, so there was a couple other rounds we didn't show you guys, but this one I really needed to highlight. This is the hot drop one where everybody has to land in Lazy Lake, and they cannot leave Lazy Lake no matter what, even if the storm closes. All 100 players have to be in this area. Of course, it was a bloodbath in the beginning. It was actually extremely laggy. When you have 100 people landing in one spot, you can't expect the servers to handle it. But after like half the population went down, it really slowed down and people started playing a little bit of hide and seek. Last time we did this tournament, one trio team just had all the loot they needed and they were just taking everybody out. That wasn't the case this time. People really fought, and there was teams that were pushing players that ended up getting pushed themselves. People were hiding in the passenger seat of vehicles, as you can see right here. The chaos was insane in this tournament. And let's look at the sheer lag these players had to deal with because of so many people in one spot. Saf is trying to get his teammates back up after he eliminated some people. People started running at him with pickaxes because they literally had no weapons, and he got some free eliminations right here. It was getting so crazy. Eventually, like I said, it slows down. We're watching Emad here. He's just built up in a 1-by-1 on the high ground, just beaming players that are rotating around. So people are rotating and fighting, and the storm eventually closes in. Some people are going for reboots, and there was actually a couple of reboots that went off during this. Something to note is that when you are in the storm and you have 2 players, 2 teammates, you can actually chain res until 5-tick storm. Some players knew this, and they saved their heals. Some players went near the water and started fishing for sardines and floppers. If you time it perfectly, which it's not too hard to do, you can actually chain res until 5-tick and then start using your med kits, bandages, floppers, and heals. And that's what some players decided to do. But the only issue is that people started pushing players who were healing to take their loot. As you can see, this fight ensues right here. We also see another situation where people are rebooting their players and then they start chain resing. Acorn, on the other hand, actually went to the edge of the water. He ended up fishing a bunch of sardines and floppers. I do believe he went too far away from Lazy Lake, and they ended up not counting his match. And I think Booga's team is a team that ended up staying alive with him, and they might have gotten the win for this point, which is really crucial for them because they were in second place going into this round, and now they're going to be in first place by a decent margin going into the last few rounds. In the final round, we actually did a little bit of a 3-way split where each player from each team had to land at a specific location. One player had to land at Misty Meadows, one player had to land at Steamy, and the other one had to land at Believers Beach. The players split up, but then they ended up meeting up as quickly as possible. The teams that met up quicker did really well and took out a lot of the solos. And it came down to a big end game where Calculator's team, Booga's team, and Smack's team, the top 3 teams, were all in the end game. And Smack's team was on the low ground just dominating, getting a bunch of eliminations. Creo was still alive till the very, very end, and he almost won this match. If he did, they would have gotten first place, but Smack's team ends up getting first place with 60 points, only 1 point more than Booga's team and only 3 points more than Calculator's team. It was a very, very close match. They ended up walking away with $7,500 from the total $50,000. It was a very successful tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video.